What is up, GLG gamers? It's me, GLG Ryan, back with another video. It's been a while since I posted something, so I thought I'd just celebrate my new favorite deck in the current format, and that is Dragon, Monkey.D.Dragon. I personally have a fan favorite of these 5 life leaders. I think solid color leaders are some of my favorites, and Dragon has been standing out pretty strong for me recently. He's kind of a techie character, and he's got some cool abilities paired with all these characters that I currently have in the deck. So as we go into it, you'll kind of see how the techs work, and I'll explain more, but nonetheless, let's get into the deck. So for starters, we do have the Dragon Leader, and his ability is an activate main. You can move 2 attached Dawn on a character to any other character on the board, meaning that if a character has 2 Dawn attached to them to swing for 7k, let's say, you can then take that Dawn and move it over to another 5k character and let them swing for 7k as well. So that way you're maximizing the Dawn utilization that you have on board, so you can play with more Dawn, essentially, which is really good when you pair it with the Revolutionary Army cards that need to be at 7,000 power to use a lot of their abilities. So things like Ivankov, Kasaru, Lindbergh, all of these are really good cards paired with this leader ability. The one thing you got to keep in mind is you cannot take the attached on and add it to the leader. It does say attached to one of your characters, so you have to attach it to a character, not a leader. So just keep that in mind when playing. It might be a little weird at first, but you'll get used to it. But you can take the leader's Dawn and attach it to a character. So without further ado, let's continue on and get into our first card, which is Kid and Killer. He is a rush card. You guys should know by this point in time, EB01, if your opponent has 2 or less life, gets plus 2,000 power, so it's a 4 drop 5k rush that becomes a 7k at 2 or less life if your opponent has that. Pair with the leader ability, if you swing 7 with the leader, and then take that 2 attached on, put it on him, he now becomes a 9k swing, so really good for sealing out games. This card is very helpful for just that aggro build that you're looking for, and you tend to see him being very useful quite a bit. So after that, we've got Sanji. This is where our techs start to come into play, because he is a 2k counter, but he has a similar tech to what Luffy has, just with more cost to it. His is an activate main. You may add 1 card from your life to your hand, and then this card would gain up to 2,000 power, so it becomes a 5k, and then you can attach 2 Rested Dawn to him. Now that's the important piece, is you attaching the 2 Rested Dawn. This card's really good for somebody who's trying to starve you, because not only are you getting to synergize with the leader ability, but you're also getting to unstarve yourself and swing big with the Sanji. So the Sanji can swing for 7 with that 2 attached Dawn, but then because he's got 2 attached Dawn, you can then use the leader ability to move it to another character. So if it's Rested Dawn that you're playing around with, these 2 cards become really useful, because you can just give them the Rested Dawn and then move it around using leader ability. So Sanji's good for specifically 2k countering as well as unstarving and using the leader ability if it comes into play, but it's better to most of the time just use this Luffy. So getting on to this is the Luffy card that essentially does the same thing as the Sanji does. He's an OP01, but the difference is he doesn't add a life to his hand, he doesn't get plus 2,000 power, but he does allow yourself to get 2 Rested Dawn and attach it to this card, which means you can swing for 5. You do see that other ability. If he has 2 Dawn on him, he can't be KO'd by strike attribute in battle. That's a cool nifty thing, kind of effective in black-yellow Luffy matchups, but not super useful all the time, because you're tending to move this Dawn around regardless. So you'll give this guy 2 Rested Dawn, and then again you can use the leader ability, move it around, put it on your Ivankov or your Karasu or Zuma even. It's just dependent upon how you want to see the leader being affected and how you want to see the game play out. So going forward, we do have one of our other tech cards, Makino. Now I know a lot of different red decks play this one just like that, so does Dragon, because it essentially makes every card on your board a threat in a sense, especially with this Makino, because these 1-drop Searchers and the 1-drop Nico Robin, not very threatening in the late game. You put a Makino on field, now they're a 5k body, it becomes a lot more threatening. So it's really useful to still have these targets as big swings if you're in the late game and they've KO'd a lot of your board, and all you've got left is like 2 Searchers, and maybe you got 2 Makinos in hand for whatever reason. Well, now you get 2 5k swings, so it is possible to have this play out really well. If not, she's a great 2k counter as well, so it's good to have those in hand. Moving forward, we do have our Ivankov. This is a board flood. Okay, so this card is meant to help you just flood the board. If this Ivankov has 7,000 power or more, you can play one Revolutionary Army character with 5,000 power or less. So that means you can play out your Karasu, your Koala, Bello Betty, Lindbergh, Inazuma. Those are the cards that I have in this deck. You can add more if you wish, but I prefer just to run it at this base level. This will help you really flood the board. Turn 4, if you put down Luffy on turn 2, turn 4, you can play this Ivankov out, give the 2 to Luffy, and move it over to your Ivankov, boosting out another character on turn 2 for you. So with your forward on turn, you now can have a Luffy, an Ivankov, and a Karasu on board, or a Lindbergh, or whatever it is. So good for flooding the board, definitely. Moving on, we've got our Karasu. On play, if you have a Revolutionary Army, you can give an opponent's leader or character minus 1,000 power. It also has a when attacking, which is basically, if it has 7,000 power, you can give a leader or character minus 1,000 power during the turn. Really good to reduce that enemy leader. If they're a 5k leader, which a lot of them are in this current format, other than Black Yellow Luffy, getting up to like 9s and stuff like that, but if they are a 5k leader, you can drop them down to 4, and now every swing that you swing is just going to become that much harder to counter out of, because 2ks are going to be harder to find, especially when they're having to counter all of them to get out of swing, so just to get out of a 5k base swing. So especially if you play out like an Ivankov and a Karasu on turn 4, and you swing with leader base 5, now they have to pitch a 2k, right? So rather than just pitch a 1k, so it's a lot more useful to have that Karasu on board, and especially to swing like that. The problem is he will become a heavy removal target and will become the first target once you swing, because everybody's going to want to see this guy gone. You do not want your leader going down to 4k every turn. But going forward, next we have our last 2ks. So for these, we've got Koala. She is a 2k Revolutionary Army, so she is searchable. She also has the ability to give minus 3,000 for an enemy's character for the turn. So that means you can pair her with cards that have removal, like Nico Robin possibly, or even better, Lindbergh. Lindbergh paired with her is really good. Karasu paired with Lindbergh is also really good, but Koala tends to get more, KOs due to her minus 3k rather than minus 1. So much better in that sense, but also, like I said, she's a searchable 2k, which is the benefit of her definitely. When you're low on cards in hand or low on counter in hand and you need a 2k, you can search her out using Bello Betty. Next we have our Nico Robin. This allows you to KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 1,000 power or less. This is for your searchers and your little baby blockers, like any like 0 cost blocker like Viola or something like that, where they throw them on field just at the last ditch effort to keep themselves alive. This is really good for that, or it's really good for the early game when the Bonnies play out their searchers, their 1-drop rest 1 searchers. Rather than wasting a swing on the searcher, you can just drop this on field and then swing into leader. The good part about this is, paired with this Makino, people will tend to forget about the Nico Robin, but the Makino will help this boost up to 5k, which is really, really good, because now you're getting value out of popping as well as getting value out of a swing with her. So now she's become a threat, which is really awesome, because people are going to want to now have to focus her in some which way with removal or what have you, just to get rid of this 1-drop 2k, so it's really strong in that sense. Moving forward, we got the Searcher, Bello Betty. She searches top 5 cards, any Revolutionary Army. Just a base searcher, but the important part to keep in mind is with the tech of the Makino, you can turn her into a 5k and then get some more swings out of her, especially with these Luffys and stuff. You might be able to swing 7 with her by moving to attach Dawn over to her. So again, these little cards can become big cards at endgame with the Makino paired with them. Then Lindbergh, we have, he is our removal based card. The sucky part about him is that it is removal when attacking, so it kind of is a slower paced card because it has to be played the turn before and then it can swing and get the removal going. But positive part is, if he has 7,000 power or more, he can move with 3,000 power or less. So paired with Koala, any 6k is basically KO'd by Lindbergh. So whatever you really find in that range can easily be KO'd. A lot of yellow stuff can easily be KO'd by Koala Lindbergh combos. The best thing about a Koala Lindbergh combo, especially if you have a Luffy on field, you can Koala, take that 2-Don, give it to Luffy, swing with the Luffy, swing it over to the Lindbergh, and then you basically just played out a Koala for free because you were able to utilize that rested Don on the Lindbergh and swing and KO something with 3000 power or less. Speaking of yellow, we have our Inazuma, which is our main yellow deck card because it has Banish, and any Banish type card is really good against yellow because, as you guys know, they run a lot of triggers, and triggers are the bane of most people's existence. It's just really, really annoying to see them, really hard to play around in a lot of senses, especially at endgame if they're pulling a 0 cost, and, you know, how do you play around that most of the time? You just don't, so it's really good to have Banish so that you can get rid of some of those triggers out of life. It's not going to get rid of them all, especially with yellow, much like the Karasu. Once you put him on field, Banish is more scary than a Karasu to yellow because they will want to make sure that their life doesn't get negated and not allowed those triggers that they so desperately need. So really good though against yellow decks, especially like a Nell. So going forward, we have our 5-drop Ivankov. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, play 1 Revolutionary Army card with 5 powers less, so you can play something like an Ivankov or a Karasu. If you have this, you can play out any of these 5 costs, or even the Bello Betty or Koala if need be. The Bello Betty is a good counter if you just don't get any of these people, so that you can at least get a search off it so you're not that dead in hand, so you kind of just recycle your hand back. But 9 times out of 10 you'll see, I should say 7 times out of 10 you'll see a 4-drop 5k, but there is that 30% where you won't see anything and you'll just see like a Sanji, a Luffy, and a Makino, and then you're just done. Like you can't do anything. The problem is it really does set you behind. Going forward, we do have our 8-drop 9k Rush, probably one of the best cards to come out of OP07. I think this is a really, really, really good card. It gives this character Rush as well as giving 2 Dawn to a leader or character, so it allows you to use other character effects with Dawn, or you can just swing with your leader and get 2 more, getting a 7k swing and a 9k swing, which is just better as a whole. So really strong Rush card, really good Rush card. And very good for the aggro build. Speaking of the aggro build, we do have our last 3 cards being Sanji. This is the structure 1 Sanji, so you give him 2 Dawn, he gains Rush. As you can see, if he has 2 Dawn, which pairs really well with our leader ability because we can use 2 attached Dawn to move around, so that means we can basically give this guy Rush for free if we have a Monkey-D Luffy on field. So he's really good for that sense, and he's really good for going aggro early game. Turn 4, you can Monkey-D Luffy on field, give him 2 Dawn, rest 2, play out the Sanji, swing the Dawn over to the Sanji, and then bada bing, bada boom, now you can rush with the Sanji, and you can swing with the leader, and now you have a Luffy on field. So you've established kind of a little board. It's not a big board, but it's, you know, it's a board nonetheless. So that's kind of how the deck runs for the most part. That's all the cards that we have in it. I'll kind of shuffle through how I would play this deck. I tend to like to go first, so that way I can get my Bello Betty on curve, hit the Bello Betty, find the searcher, search with it, find whatever I may be looking for, whether that be Imperial Ivankov or Monkey.D.Dragon, or even just a 2k. I'll usually tend to look for those things. I know a lot of people like to go second because they look for the Monkey-D Luffy, but I think it's more consistent to go first in my opinion, especially if you're trying to go aggro. You want to kind of swing as fast as you can. Depending on the deck, of course, it's not always so easy, but if you can see a really good hand, it would be something like a Bello Betty and a Luffy in hand. Those 2 cards in hand means you've got a pretty good hand because you can go 1-drop Bello, search with it, grab out whatever you need to see. If you don't have a dragon in hand and you have a lot of counter, probably grab a dragon. And then on your second turn with 3 Dawn, you'd play out the Monkey-D Luffy. You'd swing with your leader first actually, so before you play out the Luffy, you'd swing with your leader. You play out the Luffy, you'd attach the 2 Dawn to the Luffy using the Luffy ability, and then using leader ability, you move that over to Bello Betty, and give the last Dawn to Bello Betty, and you swing another 5 with Bello Betty. So now you've established the Luffy, and you gotta swing 2 swings in with the leader and Bello Betty. And then they're going to try to probably target the Bella Betty. They'll swing at it with whatever they have on field, probably. And then you'll go to your following turn, your 5-Don turn, and this is where things really start to heat up. Because you can get something like, if you're really lucky, you can get an Ivankov into another Ivankov, and then use the Luffy ability, swing with him, and then attach that 2-Don to Imperio Ivankov over here, and then boost out another 5k, whether that be Limburg, Inazuma, or Karasu. And with that, you've now got a 6k, a 5k, and a 5k on board on turn 3. So you flooded the board really, really fast, and it's going to be really hard to answer for any deck. So just plays like that, really, really good, really strong. The next turn, you know, when you're on your 7-Don, you don't quite have enough for Monkey.D.Dragon. This is when you kind of just start deciding what you want to do, whether you want to try to aim for their board and kill that, or whether you want to, you know, start aggroing them down a little bit harder, go to their face with Kid Killer. Maybe you're trying to go for face with Sanji, or maybe you see that there's, you know, you put a Limburg on field and you want to pop something, do that too. That's always an option, so it's up to you really what you want to do at that point in time. But on your 9-Don turn, obviously the best thing you want to do is try to get a Dragon out as fast as you can. Dragon, and then just start, you know, racing for the fences. If you can back-to-back Dragons, you're looking pretty solid. So that's kind of how the deck is. I'll run a game or two so that you guys can kind of see how it feels. Alright, so this is our first matchup. It looks like we're going into Marco, and he's choosing to go second, so we're going to be going first. Honestly, we don't see the Betty, which sucks, but we do have a 2-cost Luffy and a 5-cost Ivankov, so we're going to keep this, draw the Dawn, and then just pass. This is going to put us a little behind in terms of how we want to play this game. This guy does get really aggressive really fast, so he is able to KO things pretty quickly. I don't think at 4-Don he has anything that can really KO our cards. He could use the 4-cost event, but I mean, that's just, you know, neither here nor there. But I think right now we're just going to try to establish our board so that we can try to play for this 5-cost. So we're just going to swing 6 with our leader. Just simply, you know, nothing too crazy. Try to get a 2k. Perfect. Exactly what we want to see. And we'll just give him the 2-Don just in case for some reason, whatever reason that may be, he does swing with a strike character into him somehow. I don't know how he would do that, but it's possible. It's always possible. So, yeah, it looks like he doesn't have anything to remove it, which is exactly what we want because, you know, this is where kind of luck comes on our side. We want to play out this Ivankov, and if we're lucky, we'll get another Ivankov, and then we can Luffy ability and play out this Limburg as well. So that would just completely flood the board. He can do a removal on the next turn. Likely he will because he'll have a Marco that he's going to be playing out. He's just going to give his leader a Dawn, minus 2k from whatever, and then likely just Marco, 5-cost Marco. So yeah, what we're gonna do is probably just swing 5. See what he does. He might just ditch a card. He takes it, hopefully. Okay, really unlucky there. Really, really unlucky there. Good thing we didn't play out this guy just quite yet, because he would have KO'd this, which would have been way worse for us. Because that would have hurt a lot. We would have been already down a character in this. He's probably going to try to take out this guy. No, is it minus 2k? Yeah, so he's going to take out the Ivankov here with the 5-cost Marco. The Fire Fist is just, you know, unfortunate. You can't do much about that. But he also would have gotten to kill this for free, and then he would have had another target here. So, you know, better that we played it the way we did. Then we're actually going to pitch a 2k on this one. Try to keep some health, you know, keep ourselves healthy. We're not trying to see ourselves at the bottom of the field. Oh, okay. So, not the Marco. That might actually affect him a lot worse than he thinks it will. Because with that, I can now start doing some really cool things. Such as just playing another one of these guys. And then also playing another card out. So, yeah, we're just going to... We're gonna swing 6, see what he does here. Probably pitch the 2, I assumed. Play out that. Another Ivankov, really, really good. because now we can go, let's just give it to this guy here, swing 7, and then we give this Tudon to this guy here, swing another 7, and then because we have the ability, we can also put out a Lindbergh. And so now, as you can see how this works, you know, just completely flooded the board. He's gonna swing into these guys. I don't have the counter, as you can see, to really kill any of these things, or to keep any of these things alive. I have a lot of rush cards in hand, so this is the brickier side of the deck, which sucks. I probably should have taken that other hit earlier on, but I played it on the safer side because I wasn't sure. Sometimes these guys whiff. This time it didn't, so, you know, I'm not hurting too much, but yeah, I'll take that all day of the week. That's fine. He's gonna Gravity Blade, probably pop these 2 guys, or those 2 guys, and then maybe swing 6 into this guy. I'll just 1K out of it for sure. Yeah, so we're gonna 1K out of that. Now we don't have a lot of counter in hand, but we have a lot of rush. So we're gonna use that. We're gonna use that heavy right now. We're gonna probably kill his board, I think, is probably the best option. And then just start swinging for the fences, really. So we're gonna 8K into 6K, see what he does. He blocks it. Let's take this Tudon, put it right here. Swing another 8K into this guy. Okay, yeah, that's more what I thought he would do. With 7 Dom remaining, we can swing 7 and then swing 8 probably, so I think that's probably the best option here. Swing 7. And then we'll have this guy to swing 8. And then on the next turn, we just have another rush, so we're really rushing this guy down right now. Pretty heavy. It's, you know, really unfortunate for him. The problem with Marco that I have seen is his ability to keep cards in hand is kind of lackluster, much like this deck, you know, to no avail. But the difference is this deck's much more aggro than Marco is. Marco, you really need to be seeing your pieces to kill bodies on field. He might even 9 Sanji right now, and that's probably what he was playing towards and just hyper-focused it. And he Gravity Blades, he's going to try to use that as a way to win the game. Unfortunately, unless he has a blocker here, he doesn't. He's probably going to find a 2K, he finds a 1, and then, yeah, so he's got 1 life. I've got, I mean, this is just, yeah, it just seals the game. He's got no chance there. As I was saying, you can see it, yeah, he was setting up for the 9 Sanji. That's the problem with Marco, is they're heavy focused. They zero in on that 9 Sanji, trying to get something out. This deck is just way aggro. Too fast for this deck to keep up in terms of KO sometimes. He got really lucky in the beginning with this Fire Fist KO my guy, and then he hit both Gravity Blades. So, you know, he was able to clear a lot of my board, but as you saw, it wasn't enough because he was using 7 Dawn to clear away 2 characters. I had 5 on board at the time. It was almost impossible for him to get rid of all my board. So, you know, I was just sitting really comfortable the whole time, and that's kind of the games that you're trying to look for right there, is something where you're just zooming through it. So, that's kind of the idea of the deck. Alright, so we're back with another one. It looks like we're going to be going against Vegapunk here. I'm going to choose to go first to show you this curve, see how it goes. Not really a huge fan of this hand, so we're going to switch it out. You know, again, we see kind of what we want, which is really fortunate, but we didn't see our Bella Betty again, our searcher, which is a little unfortunate in that sense. Vegapunk's not going to attack, so I am going to get to do some pretty cool options here and there with my Luffy and my Ivankov. It's going to let me play a little more comfortably over time. Thing is, Vegapunk almost guarantee you he has this is a counter and this is a, I mean, this is a trigger and this is a trigger. That's like almost a guarantee. But if we get lucky, which we might with this especially, we could possibly get this Lindbergh on field using the Ivankov into another Ivankov. Right now, I'm not liking the 5-drop Ivankov play. The only reason I say that is because we've seen 3 Rev Army cards from our deck, which means we might miss on the next one if we play out a 5 cost, but I think we're going to risk it regardless just to try to see how often this hits and the detriment of it not hitting. Let's say this doesn't hit and I get a 5 drop on field and that's it. You'll see how much that really affects the leader as a whole, because this curve is a curve I choose to take. I can do Ivankov into like I'll take this, yeah, for sure. Again, yeah, it's just each card I draw just makes me more and more scared of playing out what I'm thinking about playing. It might just be safer to go Ivankov into Karasu by this point in time, and that might just be what I do. I think it is what I'm going to do. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go. Yeah, I'll probably go 6, then I'll choose Ivankov, play her out, and then I might even play out the Karasu. Let's go like this. Let's go. Yeah, let's go Ivankov. Give 2 here. Swing 5. See if he takes it and plays out this card. That'd be really good for us. Because, I mean, we know what this trigger is. He's just gonna play out the Shaka if he can. Then I'll attach 2 here. And I'll go... we'll select this guy, select this guy. He's definitely going to allow me to have this one for sure. He's for sure gonna play out the Chaka on this one. Yeah, there you go. That's something that you would expect. The thing with Vegapunk is they really like to stall out until the end of the game to try to just KO everything with Yamato, the 9-cost Yamato, so that he can just stack his life up and then kill your life. Some Vegapunks don't even attack, they just know how to stall really, really well. So, right now we've got a lot of aggression. We have the Kid and Killer on board too, so next turn's going to be pretty heavy hitting, I'd say. That's not going to help him a whole lot. He can swing... He's going to have to swing 5 into this guy, and if he swings 6 into this guy... I mean, if he swings with this guy at all, he's not looking good, because I'm going to have a lot of swings coming at him next turn. He's going to swing 6 into Luffy. That's fine. We'll let him die. As you can see, he becomes kind of a pseudo-blocker, and that's exactly what you want to see. That's not really what you want to be doing, to be honest with you. I'll take it. We know what his triggers are, so at least we know what one of them is, so we can play around it quite a bit. So we're going to do that, and we're going to go like this. This is how we're going to play this. So we're going to play Karasu, minus 1k here. We're going to swing 7 in. See what he does here. You know, I forgot that the egghead was there for the island that restands these guys, so it is kind of a freebie, but you know, he's doing his best to keep himself alive, but the problem is he is running out of cards pretty quickly, which is an issue for sure. So we're going to swing another 7 and minus 1k probably here. Just because he's going to have to take it at some point. Yeah. So there's that. I trash 1 card with the trigger. Draw 1 card. KO 20 opponents, KO costs 5 or less. Yeah, that's fine. Because I was able to at least use these guys. So, like, I'm sitting pretty comfy right now. We're going to swing another 6 in. And then we're going to swing another 7 in. So this is going to be a pretty detrimental turn for him. He's going to probably block this one, is my assumption. Yeah. And he's going to counter 2 and a 1. 2 more cards out of hand. Yeah. See, this is... And next turn I've got Monkey.D.Dragon, so he's going to have to rest 1 to play out the the life. He's gonna stack his life back up. And then, I don't know, maybe a 7 cost mom. Yeah, I'll just trash a life. That's fine. I'm not gonna give him a life. Come on. Like, he's gotta be thinking that I'm crazy or something. You've got 3 swings. I'm just gonna counter out of anything that I can. So if he swings into my Karasu, like, that's fine. He swings into my life. I'll take that for sure. Yeah, 100% take that. Another life swing. Yeah, we'll just take it again. Another dragon. I'm pretty confident that we can win next turn. Just due to our board state. He can KO one of our cards, but he's got 1 card in hand and 1 blocker. I think this game is over. Because I can just play out dragon, give 2 Dawn here, swing here, minus here. Like, there's not a whole lot he can do at this point in time. He can, you know, put this trigger, use the trigger and KO up with one of the 4s, but I'm gonna have a 6k swing, a 9k swing, and another 7k swing, and I don't know if he can get out of all that. Yeah, he just can't, now that I think about it. If he uses the trigger, it's, yeah, this game is, he's probably gonna want to KO the Kid Killer. That's definitely the best option. But regardless, 6k with 1 card in hand when he's already at 4k means he has to counter 2k out of it, and he doesn't quite have that. So we're gonna go 9k in, make him block it. And then we're just going to give our leader 1 Dawn, swing 6 into 4, and that's that, you know? So this deck, like you can see, this deck has a lot of rush to face, very aggro, very strong. This guy tried to save himself with some sort of, he thought I'd, you know, give him a life. I wasn't planning on doing that by any means. You know, you can definitely take your life as you will. I did start bricking in hand with some of these rush cards, which can be a problem, definitely. But if you can keep on top of it and try to keep their board controlled as well as just keeping swinging at their face, you know, they will worry more about your size of hand than they will about what you might have in your hand, and they won't be paying attention to what you have. So, you know, this deck, very aggro, very strong. I love it. I think it's super fun. Feel free to try it out yourself. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. So thank you for tuning in. And as always, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and GLG out.